Welcome to Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions on Wolf Spirit Radio, Ever Beyond Radio, and Studio 9 Jam on YouTube. With your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, featuring JP as the voice of Andronicus. Please visit www.readingsbyrael.com, that's ARAEL.
From the future, by way of the past, I bought my ticket for the 15th century. We started moving through a hole in history.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today in Answers from the Universe and the Andronicus transmissions. We've got a lot planned for you. We're going to be having some updates and different pieces of information in addition to the weekly transmissions. So, we're going to be having a wonderful gentleman from the Silk Road Chai Tea Shop in Shasta, Mount Shasta, who is running for office, and he will be here on the second hour to discuss consciousness in politics. And his name is Louis Elbinger, I believe, and so he will be joining us. You have to hear what he has to say. It's very progressive. It is the way that we should have been all along, and I'm hoping that people embrace what he has to say and it becomes more contagious. We'll also be having Viking and Conrad Zeiderveld, who will be talking about Nasara and giving us the galactic weather report. I think that's what they're both calling it now, and so they'll be joining us as well in the second hour. And I just want to say that, there's been a lot of heart searching, and the weather is getting colder, and it's harder to hold on, but I want to encourage everyone to do so, and also to encourage everyone on the outside to continue to support what's going on at Standing Rock. Continue to send supplies and help to some of those people who it has to be very, very cold out there. It's getting cold. And the snow's coming down, and we want to be supportive of that. There's also other things going on too there that, we just want to be mindful of. And that whether we're there or not there, spiritually we can always be connected, sending love, sending prayers, protection, and speaking out, continuing to make the topic contagious, and continuing to, if you have the means, to send items, food, different. We're going to talk a little bit with FeatherWild, who will bring in, let us know what some of the supplies that are needed out there right now, and just to confirm also the address and where things can be sent. And I hope that if anyone's listening in the chat room, that you'll kind of chime in and let us know that whether that's accurate or inaccurate, because we really want to make sure everything goes to the right place. And I know that things were blocked there for a little while, so I'd like to continue on. JP, are you there? I think he said be right back.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Just finishing making me tea.
Oh,
I'm having tea
your
now.
Tea.
Yeah,
yeah,
I've done it. It's here now. So, yeah.
We want to bring in FeatherWild to see if she has some information for us.
Just now, right? Okay.
Yes.
I'll just call her up on the magic phone.
Okay, the bat phone.
Anyways.
There we go.
There she is, right? Okay, that's a group call. And here we go. So, yeah, quite a day.
Yeah, how's the weather over there in Scotland?
The weather's actually quite pleasant. Yesterday was very strange. We had what I call the warm winds, which always bodes ill for elsewhere. It's like a 30 mile an hour, 40 mile an hour warm wind from the west. And usually that means it's the edge of a cyclone, and so somebody's getting drowned or flooded and baked up. But we just get these nice warm winds. It's a bit weird. Anyway.
Oh.
So, but in terms of other things, it's all very good here, and I'll be replaying our show from last night with Max Steele because, well, if that wasn't a historic moment, I don't know what is. So it was quite a show. So those of you who can stay on for the next 2 hours after this show are in for a real treat, wouldn't you say, Jessica?
Yeah, well, he had Zelo on, who's a reptilian, and, he channels Jerry, who channels this reptilian by the name of Zelo, and who's also, no longer, supposedly connected to the main thread of the domination that we've been dealing with for who knows how long. But they, I guess, Max had helped Zelo, and he's helping some of the others. He's removing any types of chips. And so meanwhile, Zelo has been in an effort to cooperate with, Max. And in the process of doing that, I'm their co-host, and as an observer, that I begin to see they were looking for this emperor of the reptilians, and I could see him clearly, and I was like, oh no, here it goes. I'm just here as an observer, and somehow now I just got entangled in it. And it wasn't very pleasant. And so then at some point, Max said he was going to take out his ship and all this other stuff, and then I just didn't see him anymore. So I was like, well, maybe that was resolved. But anyhow, you have to listen. I don't want to get into any more details. You do have to listen to the show. It's an interesting chain of events. And it was very uncomfortable for a little while. That's happened before. There's something about the reptilians that make us all feel uncomfortable, especially if you see them. So anyhow, how did you feel, JP, when it was all kind of...
as soon as, without revealing, the whole sequence of events, but when it kind of came to its climax, let's say, I felt like I was kicked in the stomach. It was like, oh wow. This is something that we've said before about, who was it? It was, Haley, who was my pilot when I arrived on this planet. She remembers feeling when planet Maldek and Mars were destroyed and stripped of their atmosphere. Everybody could feel everybody dying. It's not a nice thing.
No.
It's like actually a good illustration of that is Star Wars, when Darth Vader and Princess Leia are standing by the window, and she sees the planet being destroyed, and you see her like, you see her like take a kick in the stomach. That's because they're all empathic and they could feel it. That's how they can understand Chewbacca, by the way.
Well, it's interesting because you were right, because I was seeing, and then I saw a bunch of Pleiadians that were trapped, and then you could see it too. And then, I heard Lyrans as well. And then Max said, oh yeah, and there's Lyrans too. And I was like, yeah, there they are. So there was, I think, well, we're probably saying too much, but
yeah,
I want people to listen to it.
You have to listen we got plenty to do today. In this hour as well. Jess?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat room, and Paul said, I guess he must have missed Max's show, so maybe he'll get to hear it early. This is Paul from Newcastle, and he said, I nearly slept in by listening to an Irishman before Max who swears a lot. So I don't know who that is.
That's Thomas Sheridan, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, so anyhow, we have FeatherWild here. Hello, Feather.
Hi. Actually, everybody, my real name is Heidi. You can call me Heidi. It's much easier.
Okay, so Heidi's here to join us and give us the update on what's going on at Standing Rock as far as what people need for supplies and an accurate address to where to send everything.
Okay, so this is really a transition time. Right now, it's very cold, extremely cold out there. There is talk, I think a lot of people will be leaving camps now. The one that will definitely be there, and they said it's not going anywhere, is Sacred Stone Camp. That's not going anywhere because that's on the reservation land. The big day is Friday for the court case that Energy Transfer Partners is bringing against the Army Corps. So that's I think a lot of people are going to wait and see. Other than that, I hear that there are people that are going to be leaving camps, but they still will need supplies, wood stoves, wood pellets, wood bricks is something they're really in need of. I have some really good links, the two major camps, Sacred Stone Camp, of course, and the Shetty-Socowan Camp. They are dependable, and it gets to the right people. I think they have addresses on their websites where you can send things.
What is their address, website?
Yeah, I can put it in the chat.
Okay, put it in the chat, and we'll say it out loud too for those that listen to the YouTube channel.
Right, Shetty-Socowan, which is OCETISAKOWIN camp, CAMP.org, and then there's Sacred Stone, and there's also there's also a smaller camp which is called Rosebud, and they have a medical organization which is, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Zenya or something like that. It's ZANIYAN, and that's .org.
So Rosebud is that part of the group with the Lakota in South Dakota? Because I thought that was by Pine Ridge. Was that?
Well, there is a Rosebud by Pine Ridge, but this is there's like camps within a camps. So okay. I think it's part of the 7, I believe. I'm not totally sure, but I believe it's part of the 7 sacred council fires.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you have like camps within a camps that get there. This is hard for me to do while I'm talking.
But no, that's okay. You're doing a great job, and I see it. So we have www.OCETISAKOWINCAMP.org. Okay.
And they're also what would really be helpful more than I was talking with my friend that was out there, and like mountaineering wear, like some like North Face, LL Bean, just that type of, if you're going to go into the mountains in winter, that type of gear, because you look at the weather report out there, it's -2, -20 wind chill, and that's pretty cold.
Right, it sure is, especially with people that don't have a permanent housing, so it's like trying to sleep in that weather.
That's -2 Fahrenheit, yeah? Not -2 centigrade, but -2 Fahrenheit.
But Fahrenheit, yes, Fahrenheit.
Yeah, so that's bloody cold, as we say in Britain.
With the wind chill, and I know how the wind, I've experienced 20 below, and I can't imagine that with a wind chill. That's gotta be, breath to breathe, that cold. So.
And, frostbite too is probably an issue, so we're really thinking about some very, very, specific types of gear that would help a person through that, and also protecting them so they can, thrive, in that environment, which is very, very hard without the right clothing on. Blankets? Do they need blankets?
Not that I know. The main thing is one thing I found out is you can't ship wood. Wood is not supposed to be shipped over state lines. Mm-hmm. So the best way is compressed bricks.
Okay.
The pre-made, like they're made out of sawdust and whatnots. Those are the best they're easier to get out there. And what I would like to see, I did some research, and a lot of them in the United States seem to be in the northeast and out west. Doesn't seem to be a lot in the middle of the country, probably because there's not a lot of wood in the middle of the country. So that's one of the issues. One thing they were talking about too, the best thing for not being out there is to take your money, defund Apple, take your money out of the banks that support. There's lists all over the place. One of them is TD Bank. And you get your money out of these banks that are supporting the energy transfer partners. Also, they're also talking about, there's supposed to be an announcement sometime today from the camps about what they're going to do moving forward.
Okay.
So I haven't seen anything as of yet on that.
Yeah, a lot of us are watching YouTube, and then on occasion, I think it was Dan McMullen and Audrey have come forward and kind of have announcements that JP records. They do some live announcements. So
yes.
we'll get that information, and so we'll just continue whatever you have for us. And any last words? We're going to move on with the show, but thank you so much.
The main thing is this Fairja movement, and to look at things that are going on near you and to take some of that energy that's been created and move that into areas near your own neighborhood. So that's important as well. So this prayer that has been sparked, that it doesn't die and that it continues to grow.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, Heidi. Yeah, it was very helpful. And we'll continue on with these reports moving forward. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you, Jessica.
Sure.
Thanks, Wild Feather. We'll call you Heidi Whitefeather now.
JP.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah,
Heidi.
you can call me Heidi. Wild was just for my alter ego.
Okay. We all have them.
One or two. All right, bye.
Bye.
So, hang away around.
Yeah, we need
Let's
to
have a quick,
start getting into the transmissions. And
yeah. So, meanwhile. So.
All right, so.
Yes. It's like
we're gonna go right into Rhodan.
Right to Rhodan.
Rhodan, see what he has to say. And it gets pretty heavy here in this one. But you know how Rhodan is, and
so yeah, I need to clear my nose. You see the light through the shadows. So do I. I watched you look into the dusty corners of reality to discover the virus, the sickness within humanity. You were diligent and searched it out. Now you know what it's like. Now you understand what it's like to be as us. We're always on watch as the universe holds many secrets and hidden things of contrasting effects. At this moment, something wonderful and magnificent is birthing something into existence, and another is birthing something sorrowful and isolated. We observe the contrast with much curiosity. In time you will see as we. It took us so many thousands of years to just understand one concept of the complexity of living things. It's not as simple as one might seem. We don't We don't just dissect the carcass of a formerly living thing to get to know it. The physical aspects are merely the vehicle. The soul, the essence, has a wiring and cross-structure still very much unknown to mankind. Even our most ancient beings know very little of the essence of life compared to the length they studied it. You see, had they opened up their hearts, they wouldn't be searching all over to redesign their form. Some have become very grotesque. It is because they never understood that the true process of rejuvenation begins with love and consciousness. The false image of replication does not last. It has its oddities and deformities that exist because the heart of the matter is not addressed. Consciousness is beauty. True beauty. It is not the balance of the facial structures or the striking colour of hair or eyes. It is the loving soul whose brilliant sparks come from their very essence. I have proven this to many before. What is beauty but innocence, love, kindness, and harmony? Now, the dark beauty, you contend, is alluring and charged with a magic to deceive, ensnare, enslave, abduct, destroy. It is the shiny worm on the fish hook. It is the shiny worm on the fish hook. Don't covet these things that bring you to death and destruction. It takes your soul, consumes your mind, and in the afterlife, you are so shredded it is hard to reconstruct you into your original form. The darkness takes your soul for a price, but even worse, too many of you give your own souls away for empty pleasures. I have to mention this to you. Some are on the verge of missing the rewards you were promised for a plastic shining piece of nothing. Feel the earth and its essence before you choose a mate, so you can see if it has the same likeness and qualities of living, breathing nature. This should be your guide. Don't get caught up in false words. The dark ones know what you like and say what makes you think you are like-minded. See through that. Is there benevolence, compassion, and love? It was necessary for me to mention these things. I have lost so many of my children to vile, corrupt beings who hide in the dark corners of your world. I want all my children to return to me, so I can heal them and love them as they deserve to be loved. My heart is so burdened by all of this. Love yourselves again and don't compromise your souls. I have so much more for you than what you have experienced. I don't want you to be sad anymore. You don't deserve to be mistreated. They know and recognize that you are from the light. Separate yourselves from it all and I will send you my love and other friends, family and loved ones to assist you. But you must separate yourselves from the dark ones first. Cut off the loose from them. They are psychic vampires pulling and extracting your life force from you. In the end, only shreds of you exist, if you're still alive. If you're still alive, all of it can be retrieved and healed. Come back to me, my children. I'm here for you.
Rhodan, now that you're speaking of children, can I address what I saw when I was observing Standing Rock and its inhabitants?
Please do.
I was observing the pipeline and was directed specifically there, reading the Hopi prophecy of this time. They referred to it as the Black Snake. I could see the image, the pipeline carrying black fossil fuels over great distances across our nation. I focused on it, and then, instead of a black snake emerging energetically, as I imagined would happen, something else happened. There emerged a white snake, and it had a face of a man. I asked, who was that man? As his face was very white, his eyes were very blue, in an artificial way, and his head was bald. In my request to identify what I was seeing, I heard the name Cain. I thought, my memory raced to retrieve what I knew about Cain, but he looked different from the last time I saw him. See, the story began with an incarnation when I knew Cain. He was on the earth for a while. Many of them had longevity. But I felt that he was an immortal. I kept thinking, as I looked at him, his head seemed to have ashes or dirt on his head. And then I realized that they were scorch marks from a lightning bolt. And then the story brought me back to the biblical account about him and his brother Abel. The two were both loved by their parents, but Abel was forever favored over Cain because his offering was from the heart. And in Cain's jealousy, he killed his brother Abel. Then Cain was cast out and struck by a lightning bolt, but survived. So returning back to my story goes back to my lifetime with him, where I was a seer, one of Cain's lovers, as he was the leader of the clan. He was harsh and demanding. For some strange reason, he relied upon me to see and was not able to foresee anything. One day a new arrival from the stars came, and she conflicted with me immediately and told Cain to get rid of me. Cain sought power and agreed to remove to appease her, thinking that she had much more to offer. He asked me to go, and I told him she was not able to protect the clan, or possibly didn't care to, and then I left, feeling alone and without my clan. But I was then befriended by some kind Hebrews who took me into an underground dwelling. At that time I realized that some cataclysmic event was about to happen to the planet, but we would be protected underneath the subterranean dwelling. While I was in the dwelling, I saw the earth and went through a strange anomaly. The earth had gone through a strange anomaly, and everything above ground went into a spontaneous ice age. I observed Cain freeze within a block of ice, along with the rest of the clan. The starseed female also was frozen. As I predicted, though she was from the stars, she could not foresee the future, and all were compromised. The underground civilization did thrive and grow. In time, they came back above ground. I don't think I can prove when or how this happened, but I do have a clear and concise memory of it. So now I'm going to return back to the story of seeing Cain in the pipeline. I began to see that he had continued to exist and was connected to our dependency on fossil fuels, polluting agents, the system that we know as the Cabal, the system of ancient practices that oppressed others. I began to see him in the pharmaceutical companies, the war machines, the corruptions of everything contrary to the earth and humanity. And in my mind I thought, where is Lucifer? Is this him? And then you, Rhodan, said, no, Lucifer is elsewhere. This is Cain. The words echoed in my head as I heard him speak. I am not my brother's keeper. I began to point him out, and Rhodan removed him from many areas of entanglements within our societies and our realities. It was intertwined in all aspects of humanity. The poison of selfishness, hatred, jealousy, and murder, the energy that resided on the land of Standing Rock needed to be freed of this poison. The corporations plainly state, I am not my brother's keeper. They are selfish, murderous, poisonous actions that are revealed through the taking of that which does not belong to them, in a violation of multitude atrocities, including trespassing on private property. In any occasion, this would be an action of war. I am impressed with the action of peaceful protest, but much more has to come forward to protect everyone.
You desired the change, and I met you there. All the people who desired the change are being heard. It has to happen the right way. Somewhere amongst the collection of people resides the soul of Abel. Cain refused to go, so I took him once and for all. His poison will no longer ail you or his sorrowful brother Abel. My decision has been made.
When will this be completely over?
It will not be over until the old paradigm is gone. This is the beginning of change that will last forever. It is being gained by blood, sweat and tears, Only this time it's for the people, not for a militant group who has an agenda. Humanity is rising to a new paradigm of experience, or even a new paradigm of existence. Those who engage in it will reap the rewards. You have fought for strangers, for corrupt causes. Now, fight for your family, the people you love, and the earth who gives you life. Do it for yourselves and take what is yours.
And there are other obstacles that should be removed.
Keep searching. All will be revealed in time. Go now in peace. Hold on to what's true and have the patience to see it through. Ooh.
Yeah.
So, he got rid of Cain.
He did. He pulled them. It was like I kept on seeing different aspects of the way the world is run, and seeing him in all these different aspects. It was like just his head popping up through the realities, like a serpent. It was very strange.
So, I mean, if you described a guy with a bald head and very blue eyes and very white skin.
The eyes were almost like glowing. It was an unnatural type of blue.
Like that kind of electrified, sparkly thing that you see. It's like, yeah, like an opal or something like that on fire.
Yeah, and almost like a little bit of a neon color.
Yeah.
It's artificial looking.
Yeah, sci-fi.
Like maybe he had superimposed that.
Yeah.
His
or he's
skin
got electronics in the back of his retina.
Could be. Could be. Yeah. So, seriously, it had that kind of look. And his skin looked extremely white, like abnormally white. Like snow.
I think maybe he's got an artificial third eye. Because he's completely heartless. He's got no intuition.
I see. Maybe that explains why he didn't have intuition in that lifetime that I was with him.
Yeah, because intuition is your soul. Yeah, it's your soul.
Yeah.
So he's completely cut off from his soul and represents the soulless ones.
When I saw him earlier, and he might have taken on another, what they call it, a vessel, another body. Because when I saw him earlier in that timeline where I was actually with him, it was really weird. I had a clear memory. I watched the whole thing. You know, it's like watching a movie of yourself and just going through this and talking to him. I could see myself talking to him. His skin tone was natural at that time and the previous time. But he had these like weird looking, almost like it looked like someone had just taken ash and just I don't know, like splattered him with it. And so there was these like little lines going down towards his face, coming mostly from the back of his head. And almost are like dark veins. And then I realized those look like burn marks, like ashen burn marks. And that's when I figured out who he was. But I remember interacting with him and just this cold feeling, like very non-caring, like incapable of love.
Yeah. FeatherWild nailed it. And it's been coming to me. It's like, yeah, of course it is. It's Voldemort.
Yeah. That's probably, an inspiration of an aspect of who he was. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. He had a normal nose. He didn't have a nose like that, but you could see that. Yeah, same essence.
That sort of thing. And then, also Harry Potter has this lightning mark.
Ah, yeah.
So
That's
Harry
true.
Potter is a son of Cain because he bears the mark of Cain.
Ah. Yep.
Ooh, hang on, where's my... yes, one of those.
Well, all right, so we should probably go into Andronicus. We're running out of time. We have two more.
I need a wah, 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 wah. I'm going to have to find one. Can somebody find me a wah, 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 wah sound effect? Anyhow.
Let's go right into Andronicus.
Andronicus. I see you went into the inner chambers of the earth. You're gathering your thoughts and seeing through new realities. I like the fact that many of you are no longer seeing that which was in the past. The old paradigm can now stay in the past. For those of you who are more forward-thinking, I need to turn on my mic. For those of you who are more forward-thinking, lift your sights into the future and accept nothing less. I have chosen many of you to sign on to the new reality within your minds. See the garden reset to its original state. See the governments in sync with truth and justice. See the hope of humanity thriving well into the future. Let the bittersweet surrender their weapons and no longer take from our planet any longer.
Andronicus, I hope for a better place, a new reality. Tell me about the journey I took to the depths of the planet, the golden door that led to a cavern of mineral stone-like cavern that was an open space with an unending pit in the center.
That pit is now changed. You did not accept that reality, and you observed it changed.
I know, I saw a room with a holographic movie screen showing a loop of endless tragedies. When I observed it, no one was there monitoring it. It was left in a hopeless state of tragedies. I somehow knew to switch the channel and set it as a garden image of beautiful earth and tranquility.
You had our permission to do so. I escorted you down to this place. Actually, it was Jonas who met you and brought you here.
Is this Telos?
No, it's closer to a heavily guarded Agarthan location, in between the Alpha Draconians and Agarthans, very much a no-man's land. I brought you there to see what you would do. It was a risk for me and others, but I knew you had a heart for humanity. I'm glad I trusted you. It is helping me to be more at ease about it.
Did I help reset things for the benefit of all?
You did. However, not everyone wants harmony on the planet. Many want to continue in the old paradigm of wars. There remains a lot of anger and unresolved issues, territorial problems, and a complexity of both human conflicts. There are conflicts between other species and even conflicts between humans and ETs who have been abducting humans. We would like to sort it all through after the primary codes for change have been reinserted into the true reality base for humanity. There are other parallels, many as a matter of fact, but I would like to focus on one that helps create a solid grounding where the Earth meets humanity in a more connected way. They will try to discourage you. They will try to make you disbelieve your truth. They will tell you to quit and conform. They'll tell you that it's over, that it's too late to heal the planet. They will tell you that you are not worthy of being free. They will tell you that you must conform. You will ignore them. You will be strong and hold on to your truth. You will embrace your sovereignty and never give it up again. You will remind them that they can leave and build a consciousness-less society elsewhere. You can invite them to forego their selfishness, greed, and cutthroat behaviors. You can remind them that they are a part of the divine, and that they should embrace a true happiness without the assistance of pharmaceuticals, excessive wealth, and superficial emptiness. You can show them that the higher road has benefits that can't be measured by money. I want to applaud all of you for being strong and supporting one another. This is not a movement. This is the way humanity was intended to be, and we will not settle for anything less. Some of the old paradigm are being escorted out as we speak. Some are returning back to other dimensions where the Dark Ones had plucked them from and reinserted them into your reality today. The Dark Ones are dissolving back into the primordial ooze. Not much will remain of them. The others, who were used to create chaos, will be given options for survival. For some, it is time to exit. For others, it is a time for a review, and others, it will be a time to change or deal with other reprisals. We will be hedging upon an hour. This will be noted as the primary age of interference from other species with ulterior motives. This is the most conflicted of all societies.
Who have multiple.
This is the most conflicted of all societies, who have multiple opposing factors unseen in all the history of mankind. You had agreed to participate in this great event of disclosure during the great age of interference, and you awakened and are thriving unlike any other society before you. You awakened and worked together as a group. Your group is now expanding and growing across continents, without borders. You will become universally whole within yourselves and then show others the same. It will be liberating and intoxicating at times as you cross landmarks of success, similar to the breaking down of walls. Oh, there's more to come, and don't be discouraged. With every challenge there is opposition. With every opposition is an opportunity for success and the ability to retrieve and take back what was yours so very long ago. I believe in the end it will be so gratifying. Don't be too sorrowful for those who don't see the truth. They will have to learn one way or another. Their anger will reveal their sorrow and dissatisfaction that they hid, that fueled the calloused behaviors in the first place. Some are blackened on the inside. Allow us to deal with them. You're not here to be saviors. You are here to protect the planet, the waters, the earth and the air. You're here to support those who care for the planet, those who honor the earth and her children. I could never say enough about the topic. I only wish I could wave my hand and it would all be gone. The wise ones know that you would not understand or grow if it was handed to you. You expect a miracle to happen. You are the miracle. You, the people, hold the keys to change. The people who you listen to, they guide you and show you the way. Don't stop there. Carry the information and you help make the change both individually and collectively. Think on all of this. It is your new truth as the gateways have been opened for change. Let them say it doesn't work and prove it otherwise through persistence and encouraging one another. You are the change. You are all one. Well, that was remarkably... what's that word? Motivational speech-like. I could really feel the whole, if I'd have started at a higher pitch, it would have really gone, up there. It's a good thing, because I could have ended up with an apoplexy or an epi. Somebody get me a pen. Better. Anyway.
Well, it's time for Meetis.
It's time for Meetis. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Right, hang on a second. So I have to get the guitar because you know what he's like. So anyway, yes. Anyway, let me just get the guitar here while I get up. I'm going to describe what I'm doing because otherwise it's just dead air. I'm going to put the strap on the guitar because there we go. It's a nice rainbow strap. Wide 7 stripes of colour holding the guitar, and there's a special red washer that comes from Grolsch bottles. Now, I don't imagine that anybody here drinks beer, but if anybody drinks that particular Grolsch beer that has those red washers, I had some, but they rot over the years and then they go soft and then the guitar falls off again. But I know this is very bizarre, but if anybody's got any Grolsch bottle washers, you can send them to me.
Yeah, so you use them as like a guitar pick, or?
No, what it is that they hold on the strap to stop it falling off. Sometimes I go, and it goes clank, as the little strap, it's like a kind of buttonhole in the leather, and the leather goes soft and squishy, and then it falls off after a while. I know I'd like to buy a new strap, probably.
Okay, yeah, well, maybe someone will gift you with a new strap for your guitar. That's something we can ask you to do.
Yeah, well, all Grolsch bottle washers, because they work with it all.
Okay.
Sorry. Haven't played her for a while. Oh, Clarabelle. Anyway. This is in fact Clarabelle 2. Clarabelle 1 is a flat back. Clarabelle 2 is a round back, and they both make a lovely deep sound. Anyway, nice. Mind you, we need to play. Hello, Flower. What troubles you, my dear? You know everything sorts its way out.
Meetis is laying on the grass near a tree watching the butterflies.
Always the birds.
I know, Meetis. For some things we can just let it go and it spins its way through, but for others we need to make it happen.
You worry too much, my daffodil. Too many problems, worries, cares. Consider having more levity. Dream a bit. Take in the sunshine. It's such a lovely day today. You see, I don't fret about much. It's all done and over. The time has already played its way through, and for me, I'm perfectly satisfied to just be the observer, stepping in to have my fun and then stepping back into the background. I have mastered this craft and been quite successful. You realize, when you stand out too much, you attract the others. You know, like that Rhodan character. Your beloved, I suppose.
Meetis, I didn't say he was my lover. I saw him here once, and we communicated only a few times.
You always skirt the issue, Suma. You know what exchange of words you carry. I see you as this butterfly and nothing more.
Meetis, that's not right to judge me according to these circumstances. I know you're still angry about Rhodan, but you should get over it. Didn't you begin this conversation with telling me not to dwell on things?
I did, in so many ways. But I am the Pied Piper. You must listen to me.
I will speak to you, but I will not obey you. Some of your advice is good, but not all of it.
I see. You're a bit brazen these days. Don't you realize you need my help? You went on and on to Rhodan about how Cain needed your help. Well, it does work both ways.
Meetis, do you remember Cain?
Well, of course, who doesn't? We all got out of his way when he had something he wanted to do, or you would be exorcised on the spot. I mean it. He was not one to mince words with.
How long have you dealt with him?
He would often arrive in Parliament and insist upon his leanings. A treacherous one at that. The smokestacks are all about him. Not very fancy, but direct. I wouldn't dare any to stare into those eyes. It was a bit frightful, I might add. It was like staring into the devil himself.
When did you see him last?
I'd rather not say. I prefer not to speak of such things. They have a way of rearing their ugly head in the strangest of places. For example, one day I crossed paths with him. I threw a feather at him and told him he could dress up a bit. I can't tell you the extent of the den of asps he unloaded on me. I needed to jump 4 lifetimes and hide for 50 years to get free of him. By the way, good job in dragging the old serpent out of the dredge. He wasn't worth his weight in tin.
I can see that. Tell me, Meetis, are there others like him?
Not that I can think of. There are many tricksters, deceivers, connivers, murderers, but he was all of them combined. His name was not spoken by any of us for a very long time. He used to boast about being one of the first ones. I told him I came before him and didn't abuse my power. He said I was a fool for not taking what I could from humanity. I told him that it's easy to take from those who are weaker or steal from a child, but try taking from someone who matches your ability and see what happens. That is when he began the challenges between him and Abel again. Abel was returned to the planet and they fought for thousands of years. We all stayed out of it. That's where you found him, wasn't it? Near his brother Abel?
I believe so, but I didn't know what he was looking for.
You are the master of finding gold while searching for a penny. Good work, Suma. It's true. The innocent will rule the world one day. My hat's off to you.
Thanks, Meetis. So you're saying that our innocence and good intentions will enable us to rise in the end?
Oh, yes. All ends well. The time will tell when the balance will turn to when it once fell. good words said, an honest bed, a time to listen to what everyone else said. La la la, we're gonna go far. Fa la la, the people will remember who they are. Fa la la, the days without end will be the great return to a tremendous harmonious trend. Fare thee well, my friends. Oh, that came out quite well.
Yeah. Very good.
My kettle's boiling.
Oh, okay. So maybe we'll have a little tune and we'll be inviting our friends in. Louis Elbinger. And to those of you, thank you for joining us in the chat room.
Sorry about that, because the stove boils at a very slow rate, you know, and I never know when you put coal in how long it's going to be before the kettle actually boils. That's why it often, it's often boiling during the shows, because I need an urn. TJ says I need what does he call it? A 40-gallon coffee urn, but as I said, I'll have 39 gallons and 3 pints and half left. Anyway, 7 pints and a half left. Anyway, so we shall play a tune, shall we not? What a good idea. Now, I did have one. You
want to get back to the garden again, or?
Yes. Now, where did I do? I got that from. That was a YouTube thing. I did have. Let me.
You know what? Just put whatever you want.
Yeah, because I haven't got it. I haven't got it to hand.
Yeah, you have to go search for it. Don't worry about it. We can have it on another show.
Right. Well, here's one. Actually, here's one I like. Is can I play Leonard Cohen's song again? I haven't played it for quite a while. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
You want it darker. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
There we go.
So I'm glad that we're here. I don't know if you're able to connect.
Who's up next?
To Louis Elbinger.
Oh, right. Yes.
And
now.
Conrad and Viking.
Okay. Let's see. Right. Who do you want to bring in first? Viking's in there, so let's bring him in. And then I can bring in your other two while we're speaking with Viking. And he said, "Anytime you're ready." And he spelled time THYME. So, so welcome. So we welcome the wise sage.
Our herbal friend.
There's a bit of a herbal reference. Welcome, wise sage. There we go. Herbal references.
Hello,
Viking.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm awake. I'm up. Everything's good.
It's the crack of noon, mate. Up at the crack of noon.
Conrad available as well today.
Let me get Conrad. So, you talk to Viking while I bring the other two in, okay?
Okay. So, Viking, any update news or?
Well, we can get into that. Is your gentleman from Shasta coming on?
Yeah, Louis. We're waiting for Louis. And he's waiting for the call, but I'm gonna just put that phone number in there again for JP.
I found it. Sorry, I got it here. I'll bring him in. Yeah.
Do you have it, JP?
Yes, I have it now.
Lewis? Okay.
One of the major things that are happening right now, as far as our solar sun is projecting an amazing, just a huge, incredible coronal hole, which is just shattering our KP index, which in turn is sending just an amazing influx of solar radiation to our planet. I've never seen anything like it, and it seems to be coinciding with all these turn of events, because we're getting this huge acceleration of energy and timeline.
Yes.
Hello.
Lewis, it's Lewis.
Yes, this is Lewis in Mount Shasta.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. So Viking, sorry about that.
I'll take a back seat here.
Okay, so Lewis, please tell us and share with us. We have Viking, who you met when we went to your shop, the Silk Road chai tea or chai shop.
Chai shop, the Silk Road chai shop, yeah.
In Mount Shasta, which is a wonderful, wonderful place, and you also have some wonderful gifts and knowledge that I want you to share with us. But meanwhile, I want to first introduce you to JP, who is here with us now, and Viking.
Greetings.
Okay, sounds good. Greetings from Mount Shasta.
Greetings from Finton.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So now we're creating a rainbow bridge between Mount Shasta and Finton.
Beautiful. That's perfect. So you have the stage right now. Please share with us whatever it is in your heart. You're going to be talking about politics with consciousness and whatever else you choose to speak about, Lewis.
Okay, well, I've just joined the conversation, so I didn't want to create a technology problem by turning on the radio, so I don't know what's been said. But I'm a retired Foreign Service officer. I've been interested in the first-ray energy of politics for all my life. My primary interest is the consciousness of the human race. And I served for 28 years as a U.S. diplomat, primarily in the administrative side of things, meaning that I was managing embassies and consulates around the world in a great variety of places. At the end of my career, I was working at Central Command with General Petraeus and General Meetis, who is now apparently going to be the new Secretary of Defense. And I gained some insight into how the government works, how the government does not work, and also is a subject. But I'm very interested in politics in the age of ascension. That's the subject that I know that we met over, Jennifer, when I gave a PowerPoint slideshow on this subject. There were two parts to it. The first part was, what is politics in the age of ascension? And the second part is, what can we do locally to take control of our lives given the situation that we're in now? And as someone who worked hard to get Bernie Sanders to become the candidate for president in the United States, I decided that I would put myself forward as a candidate for Congress in our congressional district. And what's interesting is it's possible. Our district, District 1 in California, consists of 11 counties, 8 full counties and 3 partial counties. And what's interesting is in our June primary, 10 of those 11 counties went for Bernie Sanders. So that tells us that there's a network of people living in my congressional district who, like me, do not feel represented by the Republican congressman who is now the incumbent. I'll stop here and I'll let you ask a question so that we can guide this conversation to be the most fruitful and most effective, Jennifer.
It's Jessica, but that's okay.
I'm sorry, Jessica.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have to tell you, I meet so many people, Jessica, that when I get the first letter of their name right, I feel like it's a great victory.
I'm right there with you. I said the name of your shop incorrectly as well. So it's really easy to do that, and it's totally fine. I think the most important part is that on my visit to Shasta, we heard that you were going to be speaking, and me and some of the relatives of Viking, Viking's daughter and niece, we sat down, we decided to hear what you had to say, and I couldn't contain myself. I was overflowing with excitement that anyone would even speak on this topic. And, throughout my years of being around politicians and seeing them, especially coming from the East Coast where everything's highly democratic, and the opinions, the corruption, a lot of the broken promises, and there's so many an array of events that went wrong, even within my own state. It was such a breath of fresh air to hear what you had to say. And one of the things that I said to you, and I meant it from the heart, is that if I was in California, I would do everything I could to find every person to support what you were doing and to make sure that you got into office. So since I don't live there, I can't do that. The next best thing I can do is have you on my show and say that we need more like you, Louis. We need more.
Well, that's really kind of you.
It's the truth.
That's very kind of you, Jessica. The title of my presentation is Government with Heart, and that is precisely what I'm talking about. I don't pretend that we talk about representational democracy. No person can truly represent another person. I had a list in my presentation of 90 legislative issues. If we agreed on 85 of them, that would be a tremendous amount of agreement, but we'd still disagree on 5. There would be 5 issues that we didn't agree on. So no person can really step in and represent another person. But what we can do is we can try to talk about values and interests. That's what I'm interested in doing. I want to represent values and interests, and I want to really represent the majority, the greatest good for the greatest number, not anything that's extremist. Right now, what got me going on this is the fact that I don't feel I have a representative in Congress. He doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent my values and my interests. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm not saying he's an evil person. I'm just saying he does not understand me and he doesn't represent me. And I think that they're steering, by representing corporations and plutocrats, they're steering us off into a direction that could endanger all of us. So I want to get back to the middle. I feel that the authoritarian and the extreme right or the extreme left are extremists by definition, and we have to come back to the center, come back to the heart. One thing that I like to emphasize, Donald Trump talked about his gut instinct. He operates on gut instinct. And I have to admit, I admired the fact that he did not prepare for the debates. And he gets up and he talks. He's not talking from the heart, though. He's talking from his gut. And that's instinct. That's animal instinct. And then Hillary Clinton was talking from intellect. She was coming from the mind. She was coming from the head. Well, my feeling is this. If you're only coming from the instinct, you can be stupid. And if you only come from the head, you can be cruel. And we don't want to be stupid or cruel. We want to come from the center. We want to come from the heart, and that's intuition. So I'm saying that human consciousness evolves from instinct to intellect to intuition. And that's why everyone was so frustrated. And when I say everyone, I see most people were frustrated by the choice Americans had in the recent presidential campaign. We had a choice between instinct and intellect. But what we yearn for, what we want in our hearts is intuition. We want the highest knowledge coming from the soul. We want people to achieve their mission on earth. We want to end war and poverty completely, abolish it from this planet. We have the ability to do that. What's lacking, of course, is the will. And we know the problem is a lot of people have been dumbed down, consciously, purposely dumbed down, so they can be easily controlled. And when I get up in front of people, I'm talking about empowering people. I'm asking people to empower me. I've asked the mountain, Mount Shasta, to be the voice of Mount Shasta. I want to be the voice of Mount Shasta in Congress. I ask the question, is there a shaman in the house? We want to speak. This Standing Rock is showing us that the shamans of the world are starting to speak out. The shamans are the ones who are connected with Mother Earth. They have a deep connection from their heart to the heart of the earth. And these are the voices that have not been heard. These are the voices not only not been heard, but actively suppressed, actively burned at the stake throughout history. And it's time now to open the throat chakra, to speak our truth, and to not be afraid of being burned at the stake. That we have to have the courage to stand up and speak what is going on inside of us, and speak the truth that resonates with all of us. Why can I say this and do this? Because we're one. In the end, all of us are connected. We're all one. We're all one. And to get out of the duality, to come to that point of oneness, is when our intuition, my intuition speaks to your intuition, my heart speaks to your heart. And I'm saying to you, I'm not lying to you. I'm not saying I can represent you. I don't pretend that. But I'm going to say, I'm going to speak from my heart. I'm going to vote my values. I'm going to listen to my conscience. And I think that when all of us listen to the conscience, we hear the same thing. We know the difference between right and wrong. It's pretty obvious. We know we want to end war and poverty. We know that we have the ability to do that. So that's where I'm coming from. That's what I'm advocating. And many people have said to me, yes, Louis, if you get your name on a ballot, I'll vote for you, because what I'm saying just makes sense, common sense.
It does, and I think that you're a reflection of the new paradigm of where we are headed. That's what I liked about your message. We know what the old paradigm is saying that it's pretty much the same thing over and over again, is that we're not going to be honest and we're not here to assist and serve the betterment of humanity. And the new paradigm is saying is we have a sense of responsibility and leadership. And so we're taking that responsibility.
That's a very key point. Jessica, that's a very key point. The word responsibility. Everyone knows about the inequitable distribution of wealth and power. That's not a secret. Everyone knows there's a few rich people and many poor people. There's a few powerful people and many powerless people. We all know that. But what we don't talk about very much is the inequitable distribution of responsibility. Mm-hmm. When I worked with General Petraeus, he had 225,000 people indirectly reporting to him. Can you imagine having 25,000 people indirectly reporting to you? What I got to see up close is there's a few people who have a tremendous amount of responsibility. His shoulders were stooped. He walked around with stooped shoulders, and I knew what it was. It was all that responsibility that he was feeling. And I also knew that it was wrong, that all that responsibility should be dumped on a few people, and that everyone else was walking around without responsibility. One of my favorite quotes is from Alice A. Bailey, and she said, "A sense of responsibility is the beginning of spiritual understanding." And I think that we should all let that sink in. We see lots of people walking around saying that they're so spiritual, and they feel and they act like they're spiritual. But in reality, the way I judge it is, how grounded are you? How are you bringing how are you building the kingdom of heaven on earth? How are you building it down to the ground? And that starts with a sense of responsibility and the ability to respond. A friend of mine was saying, responsibility is the ability to respond. And this, too, has to do with grounding. In the 20th century, we had to get high to know what heaven was. In the 21st century, we have to get grounded to bring heaven down to earth. And that's the new spirituality. That, to me, is the new paradigm. That, to me, is the new earth. So in my discussion of what a politician is and should be, I spoke about first of all, the etymology of the word for a politician, how it comes from the ancient Greek word polis, which means city-state. And then in Greece, when the term was originally used, it meant Mahatma, the great soul. It meant someone who looked out for everyone. Well, we all know that the word politician today is almost a swear word. It's almost a curse to say that someone is a politician. It's not a compliment, particularly. But we have to get back to the original roots of this in all respects. Confucius taught Sheng Ming, rectification of the names, to bring words back to their original meaning. And a new earth politician would be someone who goes back to the Mahatma concept, where he or she is representing, standing in for everyone. and coming from the point of unity and the point of oneness, and approaching all problems from the win-win game. It's like it can't be a win-lose game. It's got to be win-win. Win-lose was 20th century, and we know what that did to us. Anyone who studied the history of the 20th century knows the pain, the blood, the horror that went on in that century. Now we have an opportunity in the 21st century to build something new, and that's what I would like to do. I think I'm in a unique position. I'm retired. I've traveled around the world. I have a very realistic sense of how the planet works. I've lived and worked in Washington, D.C., so I understand how the American government works. And I'm willing to offer my talents, skills, and abilities for this purpose. So I've said to the mountain, let me be your voice in Congress. Well, I want to speak for the clean air, the clean water, right human relations, and stewardship of the animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms. That is the basis of my platform. That's the whole thing right there. Clean air, clean water, right human relations, and stewardship of the animal, plant, and mineral kingdoms, so that human beings can actually be human beings and function as human beings.
That's really beautiful. And like I said, go ahead, JP.
Well, you speak a Malango, you know. You're the first guest almost ever who's mentioned the first ray. So welcome to my world anyway.
Well, I've studied metaphysics for all my life. I'm 69 years old. I hitchhiked from Scotland to India when I was 21. There was no Wi-Fi, there was no computers, there was no cell phones in those days. I took the route that Alexander the Great took, and the conditions were pretty much the same as for him. But except we had cars. I have to admit we had cars. So I got to see. I went into an ashram and thought I would enter the ashram and become a monk. But what I learned in the ashram was that was not what I was supposed to do. That in the Vedic tradition, a well-balanced life is a circle of 100 years divided into 4 quarters. 25 years as a student, 25 years as a householder, 25 years as an ashram dweller. The word ashram means spiritual retreat. And then the last 25 years as a wandering holy person, the sadhu. So I was trying to skip the whole circle and go right to the sadhu at the end without going around the circle and learning what's in each quadrant: spring, summer, fall, and winter. The student, the householder, the ashram dweller, and then the sadhu. So I came back, I got married, I have a daughter, I now have a granddaughter, and I'm entering now I'm beginning to enter the autumn of my life, which is Thanksgiving. This is the Thanksgiving time, the harvest. And I want to take all those lessons that have been learned from each stage of my life and apply them and really make a gift of them to the future generations. The Iroquois Confederacy in the Native American tradition talks about the 7th generation. They say, in our every deliberation, let us take into consideration the effects of our decisions on the 7th generation. And if I'm in Congress, I'm going to begin every speech with those words. In our every deliberation, let us take into consideration the effects of our decisions on the 7th generation. And think about who the 7th generation is. If you believe in reincarnation, that could be you coming back. And if you come back, wouldn't you want to come back to find the air cleaner and the water pure and the grass greener and the sky bluer than we left it? That would be the proper way to be a guest on this planet, in my opinion.
I thoroughly agree. Be kind to our future selves.
Exactly. Of course, if you love yourself, you would be. But I think Bernie Sanders had a lot of good ideas, but if I got to meet him, and I wrote about this, I tried to get this message to him. My message was drop the R in revolution. Just drop the R, make it evolution. The word revolution means going around in circles. That's not what we need. We need to spiral upward, and that's evolution. And so if I only could have met him and said, stop talking. Now even still his group talks about our revolution, revolution, revolution. The word has horrible connotations for everyone because historically revolutions have been bloody and ugly. And they haven't always worked because as soon as the revolutionaries get into power, what do? They do exactly what the people they deposed were doing. They take advantage of the power and the money, and they take control of it, and they turn it into their own pockets. So it's not about revolution; it's about evolution. It's not about religion; it's about spirituality. It's not about entertainment; it's about art. We're moving into the consciousness of humanity, and let's be conscious about the way we evolve our consciousness. This is and we can do it. We have the skills. I was fortunate enough to study with Buckminster Fuller in 1971. He talked about using comprehensive scientific design to solve the world's problems. And so we know that humanity has these abilities. And we also know that there's been brakes put on us. As I said, we've been dumbed down. There's been conscious and unconscious efforts to make human beings controllable and malleable. And I just think that just like a weed springs up through cement in the sidewalk, the human spirit is going to spring up through all the blocks and all the efforts to keep us down so that we can become true human beings, really the bridge between the animals and the angels.
This is so refreshing. You mentioned that you went to the mountain and you asked if the mountain would allow you to represent them. Are you talking about the Telosians or anything else, or how would you interpret that?
No, I have a very beautiful relationship with this mountain. It's really strange to say. I swear, I start to cry sometimes when I think about how much I love this mountain. It's crazy to be in love with a mountain, but it's possible.
We feel it, right, Viking? Viking and I fell in love with it as well when we were there.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. It's been here for 30 million years, and it's exuding so much power, so much beauty, so much grandeur, so many hopes. I don't feel like I'm in California when I'm up on the mountain. I feel like I'm on a intergalactic space station. But when I say the mountain, I'm just talking. I have my own personal relationship. I have my own special spot that I go to meditate and to greet the sunrise. And I've said this to the mountain. I said this is what I want to do. And the mountain's answer will be in the ways that people come around me and assist me in doing this. There's something in America called Brand New Congress. You can read about it in brandnewcongress.org. And it's an effort to replace the corporate whores that basically are operating there. And I'm trying not to be too negative about this. I mean, they are. Let's face it. I don't want to be negative in castigating people, but they're sold out. The people who are sitting in Congress are millionaires, and they're looking after their own interests. They don't even have Social Security. They have their own special pension system. They don't live under the rules. They make rules for everyone else, and they don't live under those rules. That, on the face of it, is wrong. I mean, there's so much wrong. It's like, you lift up the rug and you see all the dirt that's been swept under. You want to just put the rug back. But I think we have to clean it out. And I'm willing to offer my talent, skills, and abilities. So I'll know how the mountain has responded to my request by seeing how things like this, this radio program is one example. I was the subject of an article in the Washington Post, my efforts for Bernie Sanders. It was a front page article on me, which you can Google and find, which talked about these ideas that the idealism of the 60s is definitely not gone. It's coming back. I was born in 1947, 2 years after the end of World War II. My generation came in to clean up the mess. We are here to rehabilitate the planet from the horrors of World War II. And, have we done a good job? Well, yes and no. I mean, we've done some things. We haven't done others. And, we're human beings. We're human beings working under difficult conditions. But if all of us have come into this planet with a mission, everyone has a mission. It's a unique mission. It's a mission that only an individual can do and no one else. But we share a mission. All of us share the mission of ending war and poverty. And it will only happen if all of us do our part. It's like a puzzle. If one piece of a puzzle is missing, the puzzle's not completed. Everyone has to do their share in this. So we have to find our mission and do it to the best of our ability.
I agree, and I think, we all do, like you said, we do our part. I wasn't planning on having a radio having a radio program and promoting all of these things, but, it's been the biggest blessing. It's been the best thing that I've ever done, and that's creating a very safe place and a very comfortable place for people to just express their truth and say what it is that they need to say that is for the betterment of all humanity. And we have, different points of view, but there's a place for everyone, So
exactly, yes.
Yeah, and then we find each other.
I call that opening the throat chakra. Speaking your truth is opening your throat chakra, letting all that. We all of us bring such light, such wisdom, such beauty from all the lifetimes that we've lived, and we bring that to the planet. Of course, we come into the planet and a lot of it is forgotten, and some of it is kind of scared out of us. But the whole process of finding it and giving voice to it is a beautiful process in itself. So you Jessica, you're really blessed to provide this forum, and I feel blessed to be able to say what I'm saying. JP was talking about the first ray. The master of the first ray is El Moria. I personally don't have. I'm not like so many people here in Mount Shasta have the ability to actually talk to the ascended masters. I haven't developed that in the way you and I are talking right now, but I have a symbolic way of talking. And my personal ray is the first and the seventh ray, which means the Master El Moria and the Master Saint Germain. El Moria gave a lot of teachings through the Agni Yoga, through Nicholas and Helena Roerich. Roerich is the way the Russian, the Roerich is how it's said in Russian. In English we say Roerich. And Nicholas Roerich and Helena Roerich brought in paintings and books, which were from the first ray of El Moria. Helena wrote the books, Nicholas did the paintings. And Nicholas created something called the Banner of Peace symbol, which, as you know, in our chai shop, it's in our logo, and we use it throughout everything we do. The Banner of Peace symbol actually it's an international law. There's an international treaty that was signed in 1935, April 15th, 1935, in the presence of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And this treaty establishes the symbol of three red circles on a white background surrounded by a red circle. The three circles in the center mean spirituality, art, and science. And the circle that surrounds them is culture. And Nicholas Roerich said that it's culture and beauty that will bring world peace. This symbol is the Red Cross of culture, and it's meant to be displayed in scientific, artistic, and educational institutions to protect them in times of war. So in 1935, that was possible, where combatants could see a building with flying a flag that showed this symbol, and would know that it could be a museum or a library or a school, and it should not be attacked. But today, because bombs rain down from the heavens, a symbol like that wouldn't be as effective. But the concept is there, and the treaty is still in force today, something that people don't understand. It's in international law, but it's not. Nobody knows about it. Nobody hears about it. One of my life works and goals is to let people know that this exists, that the Banner of Peace exists, and that we should use it in our lives. We should understand what it means. We should give respect for it.
I agree. I actually purchased one of the Banner of Peace necklaces, and I've been wearing it ever since I came back home from Shasta.
Oh, that's great.
I hold it very dear to my heart, and I see it as another peace symbol. And it's very special to me, and it's a way for me to continue carrying the energy of Shasta with me. So I would love to even promote it, and I love the symbology of it. And maybe even if people would like to purchase it, they could go to. Can they purchase something online from your website?
Yes, they can. Yeah, we have a website, www.silkroadchaishop.com. Chai is C-H-A-I. It's the word for tea in India, and in all throughout Asia they call it tea chai. And what is the chai shop? What is a chai shop? When I was in the ashram in India, there was a chai shop just outside the ashram. And it was like the valve on a pressure cooker, to release the tension. People would go there to smoke, to talk, to drink tea, and to drink coffee, and to kind of really feel like get a release from the rigors of living inside the ashram where you weren't supposed to do those things. So the chai shop was a window on the world for those who lived in the ashram, and it was a window on the ashram for those who lived in the world. So it's like a Venn diagram. It's the intersection where the ashram and the world meet. The chai shop is like an entrance, a portal, an entrance to another dimension, in both directions. For those who are spiritual and want to enter into the world, and for those who are worldly and want to enter into the spirit. So it's a meeting place. Our mission statement at our chai shop is a meeting place, a sacred space, a state of grace. And our vision is that once our chai shop becomes sustainable, right now I'm supporting it with my Social Security payments, but eventually our goal is to have it be self-sustained. And once that happens, we want to open up Silk Road chai shops all along the old Silk Road, ranging from Japan to Venice. And actually we're not limiting it now because the Silk Road could be anywhere. And to have the managers of the Silk Road chai shops around the world come together once a year in Mount Shasta and exchange, trade off managerial responsibilities for different chai shops. For example, I would say, I'll run your shop if you run mine for 3 months. This would allow us to build a cadre of planetary citizens who could go and live and work in another chai shop in another country, in another language, in another culture, gain that experience, and then come back to your own. And that would be the concept is an idea to build a cadre of people who have this experience of traveling around the world, living in other cultures, learning other languages, seeing the world through other eyes, and bringing that back to their own culture and making everybody richer by that.
Well, that sounds intriguing. I might consider that one of these days down the road. I would love to have a Silk Road chai shop over in this part of the world.
Yeah, I've met several people come in. We have a metaphysical bookstore. We have a meditation room. Because we're Mount Shasta, we've got lots of people who are able to give readings, life readings, using tarot, using runes, using different oracle readings, ways of divination, to help guide people on their path to find their mission in life and to find out what they're supposed to do and help them do it to the best of their ability.
We have some questions from the chat room. One is FeatherWild was asking, I'm wondering if you knew Charlie Tom Redhawk, who was a Clark medicine man in Mount Shasta.
That's a beautiful question, and I honor that question. I never met him because he passed away before I arrived here. But I work closely I've done many sweat lodges with Jack Tom and Franklin Tom. Franklin is his son, and Franklin has built a sweat lodge in my backyard, and we had a sweat just recently. So Charlie Tom, my dear friend John Veltri, is a student of Charlie Tom and is working on finishing a film about the life and the message of Charlie Tom. Charlie is a great teacher here. He's a great inspiration, and I get goosebumps when I think about this question and his name, because he opened up the sweat lodge traditions to non-Indians, not Native Americans, and he did so. I understand, I wasn't there, but I heard that he did so under great duress, under great pressure against that. There was that the natives wanted to close off and keep everything to themselves, but Charlie recognized, no, we've got something very valuable here and we have to share it. So he did, and my friend John Veltri made a movie about him, and the movie is in almost completed to tell the story of Charlie's life and work and his message. So the answer is yes. I know Charlie Tom. No, I've never met him personally, but I'm in touch with his son Franklin, and we do sweat lodges here in Mount Shasta regularly, and I love doing the sweat lodge. I just feel so close to the Native American roots. I'm a Native American with a small N. That means that I was born in America, my father was born in America, my grandfather was born in America, so I'm Native. When we trace the family back, of course we came from Europe. I come from a Jewish background, from Russia, Poland, and Czechoslovakia, different areas of that. But I'm native here in California. I feel that when I touch the earth, when I'm grounded in Mount Shasta, which many people think is the root chakra of the planet, I'm in touch with my soul. I'm in touch with who I am and what I'm all about. And Charlie Tom is a great spiritual teacher who helped to make that possible for many, that feeling possible for many, many people. So I hope I've answered the question.
Oh, absolutely. And, that makes sense because I did feel grounded after I went out there. So maybe that was something that I needed. We had a few questions, and I'm just looking back at, the people are just, they're really enjoying what you have to say here because you're speaking our language. We'd all like to see some of these things, happen. What is your, there's a lot going on in Standing Rock out in North Dakota right now. There's been a lot of violations, from our government, which is, not so blatant like this.
Standing Rock. The shamans of the world are focused on Standing Rock because the shamanic energy now is, again, the throat chakra is open, and we're speaking our truth, and we're living our truth, and it's incredibly exciting. On my Facebook page, I said, "World peace begins today," when Wesley Clark Jr., a member of the U.S. military, apologized to the Native American leader at Standing Rock for the behavior of the white colonialists who came and took and raped and pillaged this land. And it was a very deep, heartfelt apology which was rendered, and the apology was accepted, and it was filmed and written about and photographed all over the world. And this, to me, is the beginning of something very significant in world history, that the indigenous people, in the New Testament it says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Well, this is the beginning of the meek, the indigenous people inheriting the earth. And when I say indigenous people, I'm talking about all the indigenous people everywhere, not just the Native Americans, but the Tibetans, the Palestinians, the Kurds, and everywhere in the world, that the indigenous people who really know and love the land, who have been mistreated and abused, are now going to come into their power, and they're going to speak out because this is the time, the rising of the Divine Mother, the rising of the Divine Feminine, the rising of Mother Earth, and all of us are going to rise above duality, rise above the male-female divide, and realize the unity in our hearts using our intuition. So Standing Rock is just, it just reverberates. At the Silk Road Chai Shop, we've had wonderful ceremonies supporting. We collect blankets, and we collect sweaters and all kinds of supplies for Standing Rock. We collect money for Standing Rock, and we stand with Standing Rock in our hearts because we know that that's the future. That's going to save the seventh generation.
Excellent. Viking or JP, would someone like to have any questions?
No questions. I'm just really inspired by what Lewis has to say here. It's pretty phenomenal to have an elder of his class in our presence here. It's pretty phenomenal. The wealth and depth of information, the depth going into the spirit and soul of who we are and why we're here on this planet is just very It's very uplifting and inspiring. I really appreciate your being here, Louis. It's sorely
It's my honor and privilege as well. It's my honor and privilege as well.
Mm. But yeah, it's just just going back to what you were saying, it's just a matter of in order for all this to manifest, we as a people on this planet just need to start waking up and taking the responsibility, as you pointed out. It is a coming of realization. It's working out of these false paradigms, so we can give ourselves permission to move forward. I think that is one of our greatest challenges, is we have to break these chains, and then finding our strength and courage to make the commitment towards the integrity of this planet. It is a solidarity. It really is a solidarity that in this we break free of the contrast and we start to hearken to our true essence, which is, finding tribe and finding this I like to use the word political, but this spiritual unity that will make a difference. It is coming to terms with who we are, and clarifying our essence. As you pointed out, we're an instinct, intellect, and intuition, which to me represents the third, fourth, and fifth paradigm. We have to get out of our instinctual fears, our instinctual programming, and do we even have an intellect? That's the question. What is intellect? It's just coming to terms. Being able to choose a path, finding our path. You're talking about waking up to who we are, and really understanding the core essence of our soul, and finding the compassion of our hearts, so we all can come together in this compassion and love, and create a paradigm that will heal this planet and will flourish as a race, as it was meant to be. And it takes this vision that you have, Louis, to create this coalition, and I believe in the future our current political system is going to actually be antiquated. I like to see, if you look at the galactic councils, they don't have one person, they have quorums. They have multiple members that sit in council. And my vision is to eventually see this world coming to such a construct.
I think you're right. I think that's what's going to happen. We're moving toward that. It will be guided. We'll be assisted. I appreciate what you said. And you used some words that are very, very crucial. You used the word elder, and you used the word courage, and you used the word love. And I have something to say in each one of them. I think a lot of our problems are because the elders haven't stepped up and behaved as elders. They don't get respect because they haven't really earned respect. So as a grandfather and an elder, and I feel like I'm 25. I look in the mirror and go, what the hell? How did that happen? But the truth is, I've been on the planet for 69 years, and I've burned my fingers, so I know what the word hot means. That's how we learn what hot means. You touch a hot stove and you discover. And so through experience, wisdom comes through experience. It's wisdom. It's not a matter of being smart. It's a matter of being wise. And the elders are the holders of the wisdom. And so in order to run for Congress, my first task is to find the wisest people in my congressional district, go to them and ask their blessing. That's my first task. The second task then is to build a network of all those people who voted for Bernie Sanders and bring them together and say, look, we can have our values represented in Congress. But I'm starting with the wise elders, and and wisdom, it isn't just restricted, frankly, to age, but the experience does, you're tested by fire. You're tested by fire. Dolores Cannon talked about the 3 waves of volunteers who came to Earth to build the ascension. The 40 to 60-year-olds, the 20 to 40-year-olds, and the 0 to 20-year-olds. And each one brings in different talent, skills, and abilities, and different missions. And so those of us who are in the first wave, it's like coming in to a jungle where there's no path, and taking a machete and cutting a path in the jungle where there was no path. Then we turn it over to the second wave. The second wave takes that path and starts to pave it. And the third wave comes in and finds that that now you've got a road, and now we can make an avenue. So we're going from a path to a road to an avenue in those three waves of volunteers. So the elders have got to do their job. And I'm saddened by those who at the end of their life have not distilled enough wisdom from their experience to really pass it on and make sure that the seventh generation is well looked after, is well cared for. And there's many reasons for this. I don't know. There's no need to talk about that. But I like to see elders stepping up and behaving as elders. Secondly, the word courage. The etymology of the word courage is cour. It's an old French word that means heart. So when the British say take heart, they're saying have courage. And so whenever I hear the word courage, I think about the heart, that coming from the heart, living in the heart, being in the heart, and really remembering what you're here for. And therefore there would be no fear. And the last word, love, you use that word too. That word needs to be used more often in politics. The politicians need to talk about love. I'm doing what I'm doing because I love to do it. And it gives me pleasure and joy to think that I could leave the planet a little bit better than I found it, which is what I told my daughter. I said, the world is a mess. We came here. Nobody can complain that the world is a mess because we knew we were all briefed before we came it's going to be this way. That's why we're here. We're here to help to fix it and just leave it a little bit better than we found it. If we can do that, we can relax. We can be confident that we've done our job. It's not like we're going to fix all the problems of the world. And people talk about saving the world. That's a ridiculous idea. The world saves us. Its nature is the great healer. Just getting out in the mountain and being with the rocks. The rocks are the historians. The trees stand in prayer. The trees are praying all the time, 24/7, in the presence of that beautiful mountain. And so it's nature that is going to be the great healer. The world will save us. We're not going to save the world. Now, if you talk about saving humanity, that's a different thing. Now, in that case, one of the things I say to people is, if you want to change the world, start with yourself. So we can just begin with yourself. Just change whatever you can, perfect whatever you can inside yourself. So I want to thank you for what you said. Obviously we agree with each other. We're all on the same team. We're all on the same side. We're all working for the same vision and the same goal. And thanks to your efforts with Wolf Spirit Radio and Jessica's efforts with this wonderful program that she's got, we're knitting together those who clearly see what needs to be done and have the energy, the inspiration, the talents, and the skills to actually do it.
I just want to make a point. You made a point of fixing this planet. And I think what is really important here is that you're right. You can't fix the planet. We can find the solidarity within ourselves, and through the evolution of our conscious mind into spirit, and you use the word love, I